This is Lynette, Cynthia, Joseph, and Lisa. And Joseph is going to introduce me, please, because he's the one that knows me best. And then I'll introduce everybody else. So let's give a big cheer to all our panelists here. Yeah! Thank you.
And we're really lucky to have such a great panel here today, especially our moderator, Lai. Lai comes from a long line of European psychics. She's a medium, an intuitive, an animal communicator, and past life reader. She was awarded the Best Psychic and Best Pet Psychic by Union Press. She's the author of the book, Celebrity Pets Tell All, and I have read that book, and it is a really charming book if you get a chance to get a copy of it. She does radio and TV shows and is an expert judge in the Glamour Magazine Hall of Fame. She does charitable fashion shows for the SPCA in Honolulu, and every single dog that is in the show gets adopted. They are dressed by a pet store in Honolulu, by the way. In this incarnation, like in many others, she chose to reincarnate in her maternal grandmother's family. Her family and Lai have had many lives together, and they are very old souls. But she looks pretty good for an old soul, don't you think? Her great-grandmother and her grandmother started training her from a very young age without telling her that she was receiving a special education. So she thought that everyone could see spirits, everyone could speak to them, and look into past lives and communicate with animals. She never had any problems talking about spirituality, as her family was pretty open about it. But of course, as she grew older, she learned more things that she wouldn't be able to understand when she was very, very young. She also invited many holy sites and met several spiritual leaders that are trying very hard to make this world a better world. She is one of the most honest psychic workers I've ever known and been able to call one of my friends. Let's welcome our moderator, Lai Uberud.
Sorry. Okay, I'm going, now they switched places. No, they haven't, it's fine. Okay, I'm going to introduce Lisa. We start from that, Lisa Barnett. And I have to read this because I can't remember what she wrote. Lisa Barnett is the founder of Akashic Knowing School of Wisdom and is an internationally recognized teacher with more than 20 years of experience in the spiritual healing forum. Through her school, Lisa shares resources to bring clarity and healing to you by using the ancient yet accessible Akashic guidance. Lisa accesses the healing energy of the Akasha for her clients, and she'll share that energy with you today. Lisa specializes in empowering individuals to find greater fulfillment, happiness, abundance, and ease in their lives by aligning with their soul path. She helps you realize how your soul contracts can create and affect your relationships, how karma may show up in your life when you least expect it, of course, and how past life vows can hold you back. Lisa has developed an amazing program that helps ordinary people experience lasting transformation. She provides her students with the knowledge to access their own personal soul records. Lisa also teaches students how to complete karma and vows by incorporating information and healing tools from the Akashic record. The wisdom and divine energy of the Akasha helps her clients and students at the soul level to create the life their heart desires. Lisa's new book, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Record, is due out this year and will delve deeply into this information. Hello, Lisa. Thank you so much for being in the panel. Okay, Joseph, it's your turn. Joseph Ernest Martin is the author and the artist for the award-winning Quest Tarot, which is now in 5 countries and 4 languages. His book and deck won Best New Age Interactive Product of the Year, and he won the Visionary Award of Excellence in international competition. He also won Best of Show at the Holistic Living Expo of California. Joseph Martin has been on national radio shows as well as on TV and was a finalist on the Bravo TV pilot Housebusters. He's filming year 3 of his new, is it 3? Year 3? Of his new TV series, Paranormal Insights, winner of 2 Western Access Video Excellence Awards for Best Talk Show Entertainment and Best Show Special Audience. As you can see more about Joseph on YouTube, Vimeo and Facebook, and his website, www.questtarot.com. And his books, decks, and DVDs are available worldwide. Hello, Joseph. Thank you for being here. Now, Cynthia Sue Larson is a best-selling author, researcher, and transformational speaker who helps people visualize and access whole new worlds of possibility. Oh my God, everybody's going to be able to achieve a lot of things today, or from now on. Cynthia writes and teaches about the science of spirituality and how consciousness changes the physical world. She has been featured on the Discovery Channel, the History Channel, Coast to Coast AM, and BBC, and has presented papers at international conferences on science, spirituality, and consciousness. For the past 15 years, Cynthia has shared findings from scientific research in the fields of quantum physics, quantum biology, the placebo effect, positive psychology, sociology, and alternative medicine. Cynthia's articles have appeared in journals ranging from Magical Blend to Parabola. Results from Cynthia's How Do You Shift Reality surveys conducted in April 2000 and June 2013 documents incidences of the most commonly experienced types of reality shifts, and her Reality Shifters website has compiled one of the most extensive collections of reality shift reports in the world. Her popular design, is it design?
What?
Did I write here design?
Popular e-zine.
Okay,
it's like
sorry.
a newsletter online.
There's always one that puts in very expensive words, so they embarrassed presenting. Last year we had one, I gave up. And then Ian Brinkley started making fun of me, so I told him, you do it. He said, no, Joseph, you do it. Halfway he said, who on earth wrote this crap? That sounds like Daniel Hyde. Well, I wasn't going to have that this year, trust me on that one, is eagerly awaited each month by thousands of subscribers worldwide. Cynthia has a degree in physics from UC Berkeley and an MBA degree and a Doctor of Divinity. Cynthia reminds us to ask in every situation, how good can it get? Thank you, Cynthia. Okay, last but not least. Reverend, hey, be careful, she will make you go to confession. Reverend Lynette Corsten is an ordained minister in the Universal Anglican tradition. She's an international astrologer, medium, and Reiki master teacher. Her TV series of 20 years has put her in the forefront of researching many areas of metaphysics. She has lectured at many national and international conferences on many subjects, including esoteric astrology and past lives. Her amazing intuition and healing ability is well known and documented. A possible introduction, oh, sorry, that's not for everybody. I don't know how this ended up here. So let's give a big applause to Lynette. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about reincarnation and karma. So we're going to find out a lot of secrets, and as you know, everything stays here is confidential, and don't worry, by the time we finish, nobody knows who said what, including ourselves, trust me on that. On top of it, we can hardly see because we have a light shining on our faces. So another thing before we go, we have some gifts here, so our assistant is giving some, raffles to people. And we're going to make a draw, and then there will some 5 prizes. So 5 lucky people will get a nice gift here today. So stay put. So what we're going to do is perhaps somebody would like to talk a little bit about what you do, like for 3 minutes, or shall we start with questions straight away? Who has a question for the panel? If nobody has questions, Cynthia, what you have to do?
Okay.
Can you tell them a little bit more about what you do?
Sure. This is interesting for me to be on this panel, and I'm so glad to be here today, because usually when you think of physics, you don't usually think in terms of past lives or karma. But I am so excited just in the last couple of years, and I think most of you, if you're following what's happening in science, you're excited too, because we're at a point in history where the quantum age is finally here. What that means for all of us is that consciousness can no longer be ignored. So we can no longer just assume that physical reality is just basically like the standard classical reality. Is this better? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have to be careful with the stuff on the table. Yeah. But how this ties in with all of the matter of reincarnation and karma, to me, is especially interesting, because I like to think about this entire reality as being akin to a holographic multiverse. And the idea there is that all of these different possible yous and possible me's are actually out there. But it's not so much that they're out there as that we are not any one of these physical realities that we tend to assume that we are. You and I are actually consciousness. And I think that is such a tremendously important finding that's got tremendous scientific backing right now. And I'm not going to go into all the science, but I do write about it extensively, and there are lots of articles right now. The things that I'm thinking that you may have heard of lately, if you're following the news, would be the reports from Antarctica, from the BICEP 2 telescope, referring to the cosmic background radiation. And the findings look like they're backing up this whole idea that we definitely do live in a multiverse. And there's a lot of other really strong scientific corroboration with that. So I just want people to know that there's a scientific basis for this. So we're moving away from being laughed at, those of us that believe in things like dowsing and astrology and divination and spirits. We're actually moving into a place where these things are having increasingly strong scientific support. So I'm really happy to bring that news.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. Okay, now we have what has astrology has to do with reincarnation. Hold on a second. And how do you pick up the birth sign you want to have, Everybody says Scorpios are terrible, Does anybody want to be a Scorpio? I'm a Scorpio. So I chose it. Why did I do it? Can you explain that, Lynette? Okay, let us get that one.
So speaking of researching, astrologers were researchers, were scientific, and were mathematical. And so when I was asked to be on the panel, I was trying to put a lot together. To answer your question, Lei, I'm a believer that when we're first born, and of course we bring in our past lives, which I believe comes from blood, DNA, energy, we consult with our higher power, many different names, the divine, when we want to be born, where we want to be born, who we want to be born to, how we're going to live our life, and how we're going to pass away. And so that consciousness, that information shows up in your birth chart. And so we take a look at that, and that's a blueprint. When an astrologer runs a chart, we see we see all the planets, and there's a lot of, thousands of years of research on these planets, and that's where we come from. Our basis is research. And then how we do that is we talk to people, we do readings, we interview people, and we get confirmation on that, as in any experiment. So, Lei, Scorpio, it is interesting. And so past life with Scorpio, you're the most powerful.
Yay, I knew it. Don't
Right.
tell my husband, though.
Right. She's the most powerful. So all the Scorpios are Scorpio rising, Moon in Scorpio. Your ruling planet is Pluto, which is a co-ruler of Mars. And so you've got the energy, you've got the tenacity, you've got the
Stubbornness?
stubbornness. I wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of you. But, and I am always telling Scorpios that you win. So, that's a fact. As far as past life information, and think about that. With all of that energy and the terminology that I just said, a lot of that is in very well-known, very famous artists, politicians. You have to have the past life information, the energy, say it's your sign, to accomplish many, many things in life. And so I'm trying to think of some famous Scorpios right now, but
Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton, absolutely. And so having the stamina and having the energy and the power to even step up to the plate to try to be the president. And so
Thank
that's
you.
you.
Thank you, Lynette. And before I go on to Joseph, I would like to thank him for the beautiful drawing, or whatever it is you call it over there, past lives and karma. I promise you I couldn't have done better than that. Actually, I couldn't do it, period. Okay. Tell me, what made you start going into past lives and reincarnation? How do you see it? Give us an idea.
Well, I always thought, my master teachers, they're real people. I took classes from them for many, many years, and they were always very obsessed with what is in the now. And so at first, past lives seemed like something more abstract to me. So one night in the Master Psychic Training class, I was the one in the hot seat, and there was 20 other psychics in the room, all looking into my past lives. And they didn't know my history or anything. And what happened is this one psychic said, "I see you hung by the neck until dead." And then this other psychic said, "I'm getting that too. In more than one lifetime, you were hung by the neck until dead." And then another psychic says, "Not only that, more than 2 lifetimes, but you were wrongly accused. You were the scapegoat that they hung that didn't actually do the deed." And so they went down the line talking about these lifetimes. And what they didn't know is from the time I was a young child, I would sleep at night with a stuffed tiger animal around my neck. Now, I didn't realize at the time that a tiger is a symbol for protection, and that I naturally was protecting my neck every night when I went to sleep, or that as a young man, wearing a shirt and tie was nearly impossible. It was so hard for me to have anything constricting around my neck. But after acknowledging my past lives, where I believe I was hung by the neck until dead, I was able to release that energy and then move forward. And if I want to wear a shirt and tie, I can wear that now, no problem. I can breathe with anything here that comes up, a turtleneck, it's all fine and good. And so for me, the value of looking at a past life is in how it can release or improve the lifetime that I'm actually in right now.
Thank you, Joseph. That was great. And now we're going to talk to a specialist in Akashic Records. And it's the first time we have it on the reincarnation panel. It's also the first time we have a physics or an astrologer. So you see, we had everybody just about, but not these 3 specialities. So we're very lucky today. Would you please tell us exactly how the Akashic Records work and all that? Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So the Akashic Records are the record of your soul from the time your soul individuates from Source, decides to take a nice journey and learn and grow and have a, kind of a self-realization trip. And so everything you've ever done, everything you've ever been, whether it's on this planet, another planet, another dimension, whether you were in the angelic realm or the elemental realm, it's all recorded in your Akashic field. People often see the records, kind of imagine it as a grand library. But of course, Akasha is Sanskrit.
Microphone?
Oh.
Because I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sure. Is that better? Wow, I sound so loud, really?
It's on the back, you know.
Anyway, so the Sanskrit, Akasha is a Sanskrit word for ethers, or sometimes they say sky. But it's divine source energy. Dr. Irvin Laszlo, who is a quantum, I think, physicist also, calls the Akashic record the information arm of God. It's where all divine source information is recorded. So every single person has their own Akashic record, and beings of light that keep those records for you. Our businesses have records, our pets have records. Our soul families and groups all have records. But what I also realized when I started to access the Akashic record for clients, the information that came through most often was about how their past lives were affecting this life. So we have karma that we come to complete. We've made vows in past lives that it's time to release. We have soul contracts with soul family members from other lifetimes that we want to come and meet with again and spend time with. And so this life is not an accident by any stretch of the imagination. We've all really come to continue our journey, and that, of course, has a lot to do with numerous past lives.
Thank you. I have a question for you, Lisa. You heard about Bangalore in India. And anybody that goes to Bangalore can get into some kind of place where they have all the records. Have you been there?
No. I have never been to India. I always laugh and say I've spent so many past lives there, I'm not going back this time.
No, but what do you think about it? You think it's absolutely true? Because I know a couple of people that went there, and everything was written there. They said they saw the date, the time of birth, the name. One of them was a girl, the married name. Then I can't remember if she got divorced or the husband died or whatever. So the change in name, the kids she was going to have, and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I really believe that there's so many different ways that we can actually access our Akashic records. I've been told there's a tree. Was that, and this information is written on leaves in India.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not sure if that's
it's
the
written
same.
on leaves.
Yeah, and there's amazing readers who read this for you. There's also a very strong belief, although they haven't really been uncovered, that there are physical records on Earth in India, Egypt, and the Yucatan. Mm-hmm. And so many people actually access their own Akashic records. I actually learned to access mine kind of inadvertently. I got this big booming voice yelling at me and giving me really expansive information. And it took about 5 years to figure out who was yelling at me all the time. But I found out, and then I was like, oh, I guess that's my soul path. But so people learn to access their records inadvertently, and I actually teach people a very simple way to learn to access their own Akashic records.
Okay, thank you for answering that. So since we have to wait, I think that's perhaps it's a comic lesson. We all have to be very patient, you know. Okay, who has a question? Yes, sir. What's the question? I can't. What did you say?
Yes, in terms of traditional views of reincarnation, such as Buddhism, that there is a possibility of incarnating up and down in the evolutionary ladder, so you could reincarnate back down into animal forms. In Theosophy, you can only go one direction. In light of the multiverse and other ideas now, how do you view reincarnation?
I'm going to answer part of it. I'm very sorry to disagree with the Buddhists, but if you become a person, you can't become an animal after, unless you choose to do it for a little while, but that's it. Once you are a person, you're stuck with being a person. I personally feel animals are very lucky and very happy. Would you like to answer the rest of the question?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph.
I actually share that same belief. I believe that once you actually make it to personhood, that you have more, you keep going forward in life, not backwards. And so there isn't a lifetime as a worm if you were terrible. There's a lifetime coming back as a person to resolve the issue of you being terrible in the previous life. That's how I was trained to look at it, and I believe it actually happens. In my experience with the people I have read for, what I have seen is the universe as being incredibly kind, amazingly kind. And the universe looks at you and it says, whether you're Dick Cheney or Mother Teresa, it's all good. If you don't learn it this lifetime, you'll just come back and learn it next lifetime. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to advance your soul. You don't have to be happy. You don't have to make that project work. Because if you don't do it this lifetime, you just get to come back and do it again. And it's harder for that to happen if in your next lifetime you're a worm. Just generally speaking.
Thank you, Joseph. Cynthia, would you like to add something to this? Watch out for the water.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me? Okay. So, well, with regard to I loved what you said, by the way. Very funny. I think sometimes it's maybe possible, like you say, for a time or two or for a special reason to come back as an animal, perhaps, but it's not a good growth direction. And with regard to the multiverse, I think this is a very interesting question. Because if you think in terms of one mind, many worlds, then you realize that we're all moving toward eventuating in the realization that we are one mind. And this is enlightenment, but it's a process. And it's something that humans have a little bit closer reach of than most worms. And I think that's something we can agree on.
I like the worms.
But that was a really good question. I think there was a lot more in the question, actually. I got a feeling that it had, in addition to the animal-human multiverse, it's just that sense of what's really going on with the multiverse, and in terms of how much access do we have to other possibilities. And I think we have a great deal more access, like Joseph was referring to, as soon as you recognize a stuck point that might have been an issue, like a feeling that you've been held back or falsely accused, and you deal with that issue and bring healing to it, then you can overcome that, and a lot more options open up. So I like to ask the question, how good can it get, and encourage people to let your imagination take you higher.
Thank you, Cynthia. That was beautiful. Any more questions? Okay, one on the back. I can't see with the light. Behind the camera, before, there is. We'll come to you after, okay? The person behind the camera that had the hand in the air, can you please ask the question?
Oh, okay. Oh, hi. I am a little curious about, can more than one past life be affecting you within this lifetime?
Okay, Miss Astrologer, would you like please to answer that thing, you know?
Yes, if we consider
Thank you.
the fact that we have all lived many, many lifetimes, and we have a lot of documentation going back to Atlantis, going back to Lemuria, far back. And then we decide to incarnate. I myself probably have had 15 past lives where I've been under hypnosis, and I remember a lot of the past lives, and I see that having a past life done, whether it's through a reading or under hypnosis or however you want it, we're complicated people. So of course we're going to have, if we had some relationship issues, of course we're going to be living that past life. Perhaps if we're having some work issues, that very well could relate back to a past life. And so we're living life, and our past lives, because there's so many, certainly can be playing out pretty much every day.
Okay, thank you. But don't blame everything on past lives, you know. There are many things it's our own doing, trust me on that. Every time I get lost, I have no sense of direction whatsoever. You know, it's my fault. Okay, the lady in the red, I promised that I would, sorry to say the lady in the red, but I don't know your name, so would you, what's your question? Oh, it's this lady in red here.
She would like to ask one.
Next then. We're going to do all the red ladies first, you know. Okay.
I kind of have two questions, and the first one is, if there's no such thing as time and space, how do we have past lives and future lives, or if they're all going on at the same time?
Well, one question per person, so if that's the one you choose, we have to do. Okay, Lisa, would you mind answering that one?
So the way I actually see it in the records is kind of like everything is swirling in a big ball around at one time. And the great advantage is that we can actually clear past lives because they're happening at the same instant, or clear future energy or future lives if they're not serving us, because it's all happening at the same instant. And so it's beautiful because it's a little hard to wrap our minds around the fact that there is no time and space. But to me, it's been proven again and again, because when I do an Akashic consultation and I go into a past life and clear that pain and trauma of being hung, or, you know, having your head chopped off, or, you know, any of those things, people literally feel it in their body, because we have that energy can be in our cellular memory, and it will shift really very instantaneously for them. So I know it's not in the past if I can change it today. And the same thing about the future. We'll project a lot of thoughts and beliefs and old ideas that maybe I wanted to, you know, be a fairy princess when I was 8, but I don't want to project that out into the world any longer. And we can literally call that energy back and bring it all into this moment. So we are, when we can bring ourselves into alignment with all of our energy of our soul, we can create really what it is we desire, and it no longer really matters what happened in the past or the future, because it really is all happening in the now.
Thank you, Lisa. Anybody would like to add something to it? Joseph, I had that feeling you wanted to add something.
Well, you know, the classic idea of time actually comes from the Greeks, which is it's a string, and at one end of the string you're born, and at the other end of the string you die. And then the Greek idea was the gods have the scissors, and if they get unhappy with you, they just cut the string, and that's it. Now, Stephen Hawking took that same model of time, that it's a string, but he said it's a string that's wound into a ball. We experience it as a linear time in a string, but it's actually wound into a ball and exists all as one thing at the same moment. And right now, where we have the reincarnation, we have karma, which has to do with past lives, there's a phenomenon that I believe is happening on the planet right now called concurrent lifetimes. And that means your soul essence split into multiple droplets that are all alive on the planet at the same time. And an easy way to think about that is like your hand. All the fingers of your hand are independent, but they're all still you. They're all still connected to the one you. And so it's possible with 7 billion or so people on the planet right now that you're not only alive in this body, but that part of your soul essence is also alive in a body in another part of the world concurrently. And there's one way to know if that's true. Actually, and you may have experienced this, a lot of higher vibrational people experience this, and that's if you're going along with your life and something just huge happens, and you think, I didn't do anything karmically to cause this to happen. What the heck was this? It could be that one of your concurrent lifetimes, you're experiencing the karma from one of your other lives that's also alive on the planet at this moment.
Exactly. Thank you, Joseph. Would you like to add something? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree. I've been getting a lot of recent. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been hearing
I
from
can. I
a
don't
lot
know
of
if they
people saying exactly what Joseph is talking about. In fact, just this week, I heard from a Muslim in Indonesia who has been experiencing kind of like flashes of realization that he's actually a Jewish gentleman somewhere else, and he's not the only one. I'm hearing this from a lot of different people. Part of the reason I hear these things, of course, is because I've written about this idea of many worlds as the multiverse, that we're in a holographic multiverse. That means these parallel realities are not disconnected, but they're all together as one. So we absolutely can be impacted, and we are experiencing at times many different lifetimes and feeling that those are out there. And I would just like to add a couple more things, because it's such a big concept. We experience this when we recognize, for example, the placebo effect and the fact that it's doubled in efficacy in the last 30 years. So it's gone from 30% effective to 70%. And when you realize if you're in a multiverse, a holographic multiverse, and you can literally jump to a reality where you no longer have liver cancer, as my grandmother did, and she was diagnosed with inoperable liver cancer, and you can get spontaneous remissions of disease this way, and extraordinary things. These are just some little examples, and it's exactly what you would expect when you're looking for quantum phenomena happening on the macroscopic scale, which is what I'm saying we are experiencing. And so in other words, superposition of states, entanglement, coherence, teleportation, these are basic principles in quantum physics. It makes our heads spin when we think, is this really happening in the physical everyday reality? And I'm saying, yes, it is. This is exactly what I'm writing about, and I think a lot of us here on the panel are experiencing it too.
Thank you, Cynthia. But it's funny you talked about the string, because in Scandinavia, especially in Norway, when you're born, you get this huge candle. And then when you get baptized, you burn it a little. Then, whatever it is, you graduate from high school or whatever, then you get married, you have a child, and the candle starts going down. And then when you die, you put it by your coffin or wherever, and you finish burning. It's just about the same principle as the string, It's very funny. Okay, the other lady in the red that had a question, thank you so much. And then we go to this side. I'm sure you all have lots of questions just now. Thank you. Who was the lady that had a question?
Okay. Thank you very much. Hi, a friend of mine has grandchildren, great-grandchildren, like 39 of them, and the last one that came through, she says, this is an old soul. And I says, how can you tell? She says, it just has nightmares every night. Can you explain those nightmares? Thank you.
Okay, who would like to do that? Lynette, can you explain it astrologically?
I'm picking up on the old soul part of it, and so and a couple other things about children. But the old soul is, in astrology, it's Saturn and Capricorn. So I'm assuming that this child probably has that in their chart. If we would, have her chart done, or his chart, that would show up. Venus, Mars, something is in Capricorn, because that's the condition. But children, wow, children remember a lot. And they remember, we all deal with children, and they have their little fantasy pets. They say, well, I remember Grandpa when Grandpa passed away way before they were born. And so listen to the children, help the children. I myself, I have great nieces, and they all have children's tarot decks. They are into Reiki, they're initiated. They work with the children because they have information that they shouldn't have. And so where does that come from? Memory, DNA of past lives. And so what would be a remedy of nightmares? I would say perhaps more soothing music, maybe talk to that child, let that child express himself, perhaps a little healing, maybe prayer, different things, so the child doesn't think that that's a bad thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, talking about children, when my son he started talking very young, and then he was about 3.5 years old. he used to say, you know, Mommy, when I was a very old man in the mountains, I lived in in a cave with goats and chickens, and I was the one that knew everything. And people came from all over to talk to me. So I thought, okay, I'm imagining here this, you know, I want to be the mother of a very old soul. So I drove, I was living in Switzerland at the time, and I drove all the way to France to talk to a friend of mine, and I said, you have to help me here, you know. Am I imagining things? Tell me one of his past lives. And he said he lived in Tibet. He was a Tibetan monk, and he lived in a cave, blah, 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 exactly as he had said, 3.5 years old. You know, he's perfectly normal now, don't worry, except that he loves video games, but that's okay. You know, we don't mind that, you know. It's very good. Okay, there was somebody with the hand in the air. No, it was behind there. I don't know. Okay, I can't. This lady here, who was it, the other person? Oh, there, okay. Then you'll be next, okay? Go ahead.
You're first.
It doesn't matter who.
Yes, you're first. Oh, okay. So we have 7 billion people on the planet now. So that's 7 billion souls. So I'm wondering, with more people that are living on the planet now than ever before, as far as my history goes back, there are either brand new souls, being this is their first time here, or there are a lot of souls sort of in reserve. Can somebody explain
Yeah,
how
I can
that
answer
works?
that one, because actually when I do lectures on past lives, I talk about it. Actually, there are two things here. There are some new souls, some come from other planets. Everybody knows that there is life in other planets. Some of them are animals that reincarnated because they are smart enough. And then there is a problem. I don't know if anybody has been to Haiti. And there are people, bodies walking around. And honestly, we all can see souls here, adorers, and they have no soul. And it's really scary because they have these glassy eyes. So some people have no souls. Because you see, that's one of the reasons why I get so mad at the religions that say, have more children, have more children. No, don't have more children. You know, it's enough, you know. 2 or 3 per couple is enough, you know. But they want you to have more because there are not enough souls for everybody. Anybody would like to add to that, perhaps? Akashic records?
The other thing that's interesting is that when we originally individuate from source, we're like a huge soul, and we are born in a basket. So you may have 25 or 50 souls that's your original soul family. And as we go on journeying through the infinity of the universe, we sometimes choose to come to a planet, and we fragment to make ourselves small enough to become human or to live on a planet. So one soul may divide not just into 2 like we talk about with soulmates, but we might divide into another 20 or 100 or even 1,000 souls, because we're so huge and so infinite that we can actually becomes like smaller souls, fragment. I don't think I have a better word for it. If someone has a better word for it, I'd love it. But so it actually, what happens is our soul family grows that way also. So you may have started out with 25 soul family, you know, whatever, billions of years ago, and or at this moment in the non-time and space continuum. And then all of a sudden, as we go on, we have thousands in our soul family. So it's another way that we go from being one huge soul to being 1,000, you know, souls. So that's another way that we get more of us.
Thank you so much. Sure. Now the other lady that had the hand in the air. Yes. Could you stand up so they see you? Oh, you got the microphone already.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
My question is regarding animals. If you have an animal in your life that you really are bonded to, and they don't show signs that they're sick particularly, their eyes are glossy and they're still with you, and then they get very ill and then die, Is that possible that they know it's their time, or that it just is their time to leave and go to another dimension?
Okay, Cynthia, would you like to answer that?
That's interesting. Yeah, I've personally experienced, I've got an old dog right now. He's going on 16. He's a large dog. He's Belgian Tervuren, so I can relate to this question personally. And about a year and a half ago, he started exhibiting the signs you're talking about. He's still alive right now, because what happened is I just felt like, no, I can't lose you. I love you too much. And those of us who are energy healers, you know love heals, and you know that when you love someone that much, you can, it's just like moving consciousness together to a place where now this dog no longer has hip dysplasia, his cataracts cleared up, and he had that joy de vivre again. So, it's not always the end. Often it is the end. You know, I'm not trying to say that there's always hope. I tend to be an optimist. I guess you could figure that out. And I believe that quantum physics gives us the ability to be more optimistic with a scientific basis for it. So that's what I'd like to share, that idea with people, that even if things seem like a doctor is giving you a death sentence and saying you've got 3 months to live, like they did to my grandmother, the cancer did not hurt her, and she lived, you know, quite a bit longer, even in her 90s. My dog is still alive. He's now, like I said, going on 16. So it's possible to sort of dance through these realities, and the way you do it, it really does help to be optimistic. Faith helps also. I talk about a lot of this in my book, Quantum Jumps, so I'm not going to go through all the scientific studies, but there's a lot of research right now that shows that when we think, for example, of the elderly as being vibrant and smart and wise, the people that have that kind of a feeling or thought or bias about elderly, they live longer, they are healthier, they do better. This was shocking to the researchers that found out that people who thought, oh, old people, they fall down, they can't get up, they're kind of stupid, they're feeble. That's what happened to those people that believed that. So, pretty amazing. It just means we are connected to these other worlds. We're moving through them all the time. We have access to them all the time. And we're in this quantum age right now, so I think we're starting to experience that a lot more.
Thank you, Cynthia. Well, speaking of old dogs, my dog is 18 and a half years old. She sees everything, she hears everything when it suits her. If it's not convenient, it doesn't suit. She runs up and down the stairs. She eats everything inside. She doesn't put on weight. You know, and she's as sneaky as she can be, you know, and she's not planning to go anywhere anytime soon, you know. So I think we should introduce our dogs to each other. Okay. So who has another question? I saw hands. Yeah, there's a person there. Can you stand up so they can see you? You there? That person over there. Thank you so much. What's your question?
Yeah, and in any process that when you find a past life, how can you tell that what you are seeing or is real or just imagination or just a dream or something like that?
Could you repeat that? Because
how can you really tell that a past life is for real and not just an imagination?
Okay, Akashic records. Let's see.
Yeah, so the way I would say it is, of course it's, well, a couple different levels because there's always many answers to one question. What I notice is if I can change the energy, then it's real enough. And so if you're having some sort of trauma or fear, you can't wear a necktie or you're afraid to go near the water, and I look at a past life in which you drowned, then, if I clear that past life in which you drowned and you now have no fear of water, to me it's close enough. So, you know, I may not know the name of the boat that you fell off of or the ocean that you were swimming in. It doesn't really matter. Very often the information we get is very symbolic, so we can witness it, release that energy, and move on. So that's one part that is, you know, that's proof enough to me if it changes someone's life.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Yes. You there with white shirt and a ponytail. Thank you. Sorry for the descriptions, but that's the only way he can find you. What's your question?
Okay, thank you for today and all information sharing. Everyone talking about past, I want to talk about now and future. So, as I don't know if one feels just me, a lot of change happen right now in the universe and it affect everything. Like everything happens very fast. You just think about something, it happens immediately. So, what do you have to say about that? What you should do in the future to save us or help us to have a better future?
Okay, Joseph, would you like to answer that?
You know, I'd love to answer that question. I just want to start by saying I love smart women, so I am just enjoying being the only thorn among all these roses up here today. It's really true. And so I love what Cynthia's saying about that too, because science is showing us how our consciousness affects reality at the time we have it. We know by the Heisenberg principle that if you have consciousness and you want an electron to appear around a neutron or the center of an atom, you can will it to appear within a sector, even though an electron has velocity and mass at times. A particle and a thing, it's a kind of a wavicle. So what does that mean about our future? It means that we're moving to a time where our intent, our consciousness, is actually going to create the reality we live in a much more direct way. That's the magic of where we are. Now, if you have stinkin' thinking, guess what kind of reality you're going to create? One with a lot of trouble. However, what I have seen in my practice, I've been doing work for 25 years now, and I've read for thousands of people, of course, over the years, is that younger people in their 20s and younger at this time are being born as hybrid individuals. They are being born with multiple archetypes of beingness within the same body at the same time. Now, in the past, we needed John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe. We needed to build stuff, and we needed community and family. But now we need people who are both John Wayne and Marilyn Monroe, all in the same body, because they're the Save the Earth people. We did our job, older generations did their job, thank goodness for that. But now the energy is about consciously co-creating with others the reality we want to live in a shared way. And science says, and because I love Cynthia's books, I love what she says, shows us that this is true. Now, of course, you know, the glassy-eyed, soulless beings that are walking around in Congress, they... they need our help. And they need a refresher course in ethics, but that's going to come from us, not them. The old paradigm that power comes here, the king and queen, and we're the subjects, is now flipped. The power actually comes from us. And it's time we take back that energy by admitting we are these powerful, magical, physical co-creators in a multidimensional universe that we create with every breath we take.
Thank you, Joseph. Now, I have a question for the astrologer here. Lynette, okay, some people are like my husband, double Libra. You know what that means, forearms going in four different directions. And or double Gemini or double whatever, you know. Do you think because of this new concept and this new development, there will be fewer double Libras, double Geminis, double Capricorns or whatever? Or people will choose, for example, to be Capricorn, Gemini or whatever, you know, Pisces, Scorpio, I don't know what. Can you please answer that? Thank you.
We all have free will. And that's the concept. So why would two twins that were born maybe a couple of minutes apart, growing up in the same family, same birth date, same basic time, have totally different ways of living? They think different, they do different things in their life. Now, why would that be? In an astrological term, when the planets are in the same signs? Because of free will. And so when we're born, we are with our parents. It's just the psychology of early childhood. And we hear different things that our parents say. And so that's a big thing already. So we have to take a little bit of psychology in with how we grow up. Now, if we have free will, when we're born, we can pick when we want to be born, just as parents could try. Now, we do say that we pick our parents. You know, many metaphysicians know that. But the other idea is parents are always trying to have like a Sagittarius baby. So, you know, they're getting the 9 months and all of that type of thing. And so I think we got to kind of go with free will. The more you understand astrology and the signs and do the research on that, the more you can kind of pick and choose.
Thank you. That explains why all my kids were premature.
Well, they wanted to be here, like they're excited.
I know, but I asked my youngest daughter, you know, she was 2.5 months too early. And I asked her, why on earth were you born so early? And she said, because she was born November 18th. Oh, I wanted to be home for Christmas. That makes sense to me. Thank you. Thank you so much. There is a carpet here, you know, and I didn't know it balances. Okay, who has the next question? And then we do another. Yes, there is a lady here, and then we go to the other side. Can you stand up so they see you? You? You-hoo? You good? Can we get the microphone there, please?
Oh.
Okay, perhaps you can hear it. What is it? Karma? Dharma. Sorry. Okay, who wants to answer that? Okay. Okay, can you answer that?
Karma and Dharma. I was reading Edgar Cayce before coming, and he talks a little bit about what Dharma is. Dharma is all of the good things that happen. So there's a distinction in many circles, karma, dharma. And so dharma is what we're creating now, and in a positive way. And karma is what doesn't feel good. Karma is what's bothering you. Now, karma, what I know, there could be two different ways to sort of get rid of karma, because we kind of want to work that out. And one of them, that in an astrological way, is surgery. And so it seems like in surgery, when people are constantly in the hospital and having blood out, they're trying to get rid of what's bothering them, and it's that's the only way that they can get rid of karma. And another astrological way, it's just through hard work. So you decide, I suppose, you know, which way. But karma is what's bothering you. Dharma is what you're working on, the good things, the positive, what you're going towards.
Okay. Oh, that might explain. I was never ever sick except for when I had measles when I was like 2 or 3 years old. And as soon as I got married, oh my God, I had the tonsils taken out, you name it. For a few years I think it must have been some kind of karma with my husband, you know. Because, no, and then it got better, and then so I need to have a talk with him.
Yes, I've been waiting for a long time.
Okay, if there is one there, it's fine.
Microphone. I'm very curious about the soulless entities or people you're talking about. When they pass over, do they get a life review like the rest of us, you know? Do they get to empathize or be on the place of their victims, for instance, and people they've wronged? Do they get to feel the pain and all the suffering they've caused? Because they're doing a lot of, they're doing a lot of things that are wrong and making a lot of people suffer.
Okay, thank you so much.
You mentioned this thing about the soulless.
Thank you.
entities.
Joseph, would you like to answer this one?
Sure. You know, I gave away the DVD of People Gone Crazy, and I was telling Cynthia, it's a very short DVD. It's just yes. That's the whole video right there. Have people gone crazy? Yes. And you've seen them doing these horrendous betrayal, lies, junk in their life. And then you wonder, when they finally go, oh my God, do they get to understand what they did? And this is why the universe is so amazingly beautiful, loving, and kind. The universe wants you to learn from your life experience. This earth class you just took, the universe wants you to gain knowledge from it. So of course, when you cross over to the other side, you get to experience the emotions and ramifications of every painful deed you ever inflicted on anyone. However, you also get to experience every beautiful gesture you've ever done for anyone, any act of kindness, so that you can learn from this lifetime and then make a great choice about how you want to reincarnate and come back and do it again. And just with the reincarnation thing, people come to me for readings, they'll say, I want this to be my last lifetime. I don't want to come back again. I'm through with the earth plane. It's really dense down here. I'm tired. I want this to be my last trip in. Is this my last lifetime? And I don't know about you, but if you ask that question, it is not your last lifetime. It just isn't. If you say to yourself, this has been a wonderful experience. I have loved it. It has been wonderful. If I come back, great. If I don't come back, great. You have a likelihood to maybe stay on the other side longer.
Thank you, Joseph. There was somebody here with
what's the point of being
question.
soulless? Not having a soul then?
Sorry, one question, because there is a lady here also. What's your question? Lisa, would you like to answer that?
I would love to.
Thank you.
What I get in the Akashic Records is that, there's of course a difference between the archangels and other angelic realms, but that yes, we absolutely do live in the angelic realms. We have angelic soul family, not everybody, but a lot of us, and we come back and forth. We're often angels for our soul family that's incarnated on earth, and we kind of go back and forth. So sometimes when those angels are really, really familiar, it's because you're actually soul family. That might be your soul sister. You might have lived a sister life in human form, and you may have lived angelic lives together also. So the way the Akashic Masters explain the angelic realm, like I would say, is that the Ascended Masters are always the Ascended Masters, the Archangels are always the Archangels. But that, yes, we do live in angelic realms, and same as elemental realms. Sometimes we're fairies or gnomes, and we play in those worlds too. There's many, many, many dimensions that we also play in, and so this is just a fraction. Earth is just a fraction of what we do as ancient souls.
Thank you so much. Somebody else had put the hand in the air. Yes, ma'am, in white here. Can you stand up so they can see you?
So with all the wars and things and pollution and all of that, and if we have kind of a timeline continuum that's more like a ball of string, if we sort of get back into our heart and make choices from our heart, do we change more than just our lives and the people in our immediate vicinity, or can we change people in Iraq?
Cynthia, would you like to answer that one? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, we absolutely are interconnected, and we definitely have a much bigger change effect and power than most of us realize. Being able to prove it is another matter. I love to look to see where we are right now with the science, and don't have proof yet, but I know we're moving in that direction because there's more and more phenomenal research going on. But just from the spiritual side of things, which I love also, I've personally benefited and witnessed so many times, both on the receiving and the giving side of just feeling that ripple effect when somebody does just that small good thing that then reaches out and affects a whole bunch of other people who reach more people. And that's why it's so important for each of us to know that, just like what Joseph is saying, you can absolutely benefit from every small thing you do. Every small kindness is so much more meaningful than you probably realize. And it doesn't cost much just to smile at someone and to ask how they are and really care. And so these are small things, but they're very big.
Thank you, Cynthia. More questions? That lady there, she's put her hand up before. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Lynette, what would you do as an astrologer? What would you recommend to her?
Recently, the planets, I don't know how many people are into astrology, but we have had such a grand cardinal cross in the heavens. And so, for the cardinal signs. And so I personally have been working on some of these things too. And I think what we're all trying to do, and probably for all of our life, but lately, is to learn to take care of ourselves. And so it's all of it. It's physical, it's spiritual, it's mental. Get yourself some daily affirmations. I personally like to listen to music. I'm physical, get out and be physical because you're going to change your energy that way. Have a past life regression. Go get a clearing. Have a Reiki treatment. Learn some metaphysical ways to help yourself during these times, and that could be daily practice for you.
I must say, one of the things that I really like, I like swimming, and I like gardening. I also like cooking. If there are people enough in my house, you never know who's coming. So those things relax me. So if you do something that relaxes you, normally you get some kind of inspiration. Quickly, we are almost out of time. Who has more questions here?
Okay, that's a great question. Well, these subjects in the East are much more open. It's not such a subject for ridicule as it is in the West. In the West, we've been basically led to believe that this old classical paradigm of science where you can separate the observer from the experiment and you can absolutely know the truth and all this business, that's falling apart as the quantum paradigm is presenting itself more clearly. We still don't have an absolute explanation of quantum physics mathematics. The math is there. The interpretations are all over the place, but they're narrowing down. And I think I'm very optimistic, as I said earlier, that we're moving in a direction that as we start recognizing absolutely consciousness matters, this is the key and the basis for everything, then we start getting to that place of recognizing that we are as one and that every good thing that we do makes a difference, all that. And so we're becoming more Eastern as we're becoming more quantum, because in the East they have fourfold logic. They've got true, they've got false, they have true and false, and they have not true, not false. This is very similar to what you see when you look at what's inside of a quantum computer, which is right now, at Google and NASA Ames, they've spent millions of dollars on it. It's being programmed. 512 qubit processing power is working in that realm. This is what our kids are learning with Minecraft, Qcraft. And so the future belongs to these kids that really understand that superposition is real, entanglement is real, coherence is real, teleportation is real. For those of us in the room, it might seem kind of far out, like science fiction. It's absolutely real.
Yeah, thank you, Cynthia. But I have to go back. I also have to put in a word for you. Until the 5th century, the Catholic Church believed in reincarnation and preached marriage or wedding. What happens is that if they could reincarnate, why should people pay the church, It's easy, And I'm a Catholic, by the way. I just don't believe in everything they say. So what happens, it starts a big cover-up. It's with everything now. They cover up everywhere. And now, as you know, we are going towards the age of Aquarius, so everything that was hidden is coming out, and it all started in 2000 with Enron. And Catholic Church, Martha Stewart, you name it, it's all coming out. It's one after the other. And these people still haven't learned, you know, and because it doesn't suit them. Okay, quickly, another question, because we are almost out of time. Yes, ma'am. Didn't you ask a question already? Yeah, you can ask another one if nobody put the hand in here.
Yes, so the way the beings of light that I speak to in the Akashic Records explain it to me is that because, as I was describing, we start with a group. Say, I say we were kind of born in a basket. We all are born, there's 25 or 50 of us who are born together. And we basically start out together, we travel together. That's our soul family, that's our original soul family. And then as we go on through time and space, souls say, oh, I want to go over there, I want to do that journey, maybe I'll go live on that planet. And we start to kind of separate a little bit, but also we find that we're these huge souls that want to come into smaller bodies. So we fragment a little bit to become smaller pieces of soul, so now there's 25 of me. And so those are my soulmates. I have 25 soulmates. It's not just two, you know, not just me and the other half. We actually fragment into bigger, more pieces than I think we often think. And I always find that so, you know, kind of enheartening, because that means that I don't have to find one person on the planet, if they're on the planet, you know, to be with. There's really hundreds of soul family and soul contracts. In fact, when we come into a life, we make soul contracts with many souls to have children, to have intimate relationships or marriages, to be, you know, friends and family, or business partners. We actually set up these soul contracts before we come into a body. And most of us actually have at least a half a dozen soul contracts with different souls to have intimate relationships. And they're not all going to be the happy relationships. Sometimes it's about finishing some old karma also and growing, or having a child. But we really set up. So the good news is it's not just one one person there. Most of us have at least a half a dozen or a dozen.
I am so happy just to think that my husband would drag me to the golf course with him, would drive me crazy. You know? Thank you. There was a lady here asking a question. Okay, can somebody else answer the question? Joseph, please. Lisa, answer then. Okay,
so twin flames are also,
just 1 minute.
I get very much that part. In this life, one of my twin flames is a very, very dear sister, girlfriend, and she's now the godmother of my identical twin. So I have some stuff to say about that too. But so again, it's really part of that soul family, but those two have tended to kind of pal around together, maybe more than some of the other parts of your soul family or those fragments. And so you have this very special bond with that person. You really know each other in a very special way.
Thank you, Lisa. Joseph, quickly, because we
Absolutely
are out of time.
quickly. It's just because your question captivated me, the young lady who asked over there, and it was, you know, I have this karma from a past life that I'm aware of, and these commitments and vows I made. How can I change that, or what is my daily practice? In the training I received and what my belief is for the work I've done for the last 25 years, forgiveness negates karma. If you forgive yourself, you release that karma back into the universe. If you forgive others, you release the karmic bond with them, so you don't have to come back and figure it out one more time. If you want to make your life propel forward in a beautiful, amazing, fantastic way, practice forgiveness every day for yourself and the people that you interact with, and your life will be amazing.
Thank you, Joseph. Okay, Lisa, what's the number of your booth?
My booth is 212.
Thank you. And you?
And come by and see me. I'm in booth 250 right near the front with all the blinky lights. So you can't miss me at all.
Cynthia, how can they get in touch with you?
through my website, realityshifters.com and quantumjumps.com for the new book.
Okay, if you want to know more about it, you have to talk to her. Lynette?
Come and see me at booth number 249.
And I'm in 247. I would like to thank very much the panelists and the audience. You were absolutely great. Thank you.
Thank you.